So now you have to deal with the ripple effects. Look, we don't know anything, but I don't think there's any scenario here where Bryce Harper isn't on the IL. I think best case scenario is Kyle Schwarber isn't, but I think Bryce is definitely headed for the IL. So now are the ripple effects of that. We got to get into who's coming up. What's this lineup going to look like? Who's playing first base? Is it a true platoon? Is Alec Boehm getting 50% of the time over there versus lefties, and maybe Cody Clemens does the other 50% versus righties, etc. But Michael Mercado is now in a huge role.
Yep.
The lineup has a lot of questions to answer. Cody Clemens is nearing the end of his rehab start. Is he a name we see back up here? Is Johan Rojas potentially? He's had some really good numbers in his 10 days or so in AAA. Is he a guy that just comes back up because he has that major league experience? There's guys like Buddy Kennedy who are new to the system and kind of on fire at the Lehigh level. It's going to be – there's no great answers.
No, I mean, there was no great answers for a couple of positions on this team to begin with, right?
Sure.
We talked about platooning left field. We talked about platooning center field.
You already had two platoons.
They were pretty thin to begin with. Now, their upper echelon players are stalwarts, right? Your first baseman should be playing, close to every day. Your DH was playing close to every day. Your catcher prior to the injury with JT Realmuto was playing basically every day. Alec Boehm's been a revelation for this team. He's played pretty much every day at third base. So you were kind of thin depth-wise, and maybe not depth-wise. You were thin lineup-wise because you were playing mix and match with multiple positions. You're really going to be stretched thin now. Rob Thomson's going to have to be forced to get creative. And like you said, it really depends on who hits the IL to determine who gets the call-up. Because if it's just one of them,
if it's just one, I'd have to think it's Cody Clemens.
I would imagine it's probably Cody Clemens. If it's both of them, I would think Clemens probably Weston Wilson would get the call. Weston Wilson for his versatility, Clemens for the same thing, but Clemens can play multiple positions. He's a left-handed bat. Wes Wilson gives you a little bit of pop in the lineup if you need a guy. I think
29, he's a grown-ass man.
I think what you're going to find out about this might be a little bit of an overreaction, but I think what you're going to find out about these particular move sets, especially if it's both of them, what this organization thinks of Derek Hall truly. Because if it's both of them and Derek Hall doesn't get the call up, Derek Hall's never a major league player.
Yeah, he's done here.
At least here. So to me, the likelihood is if it's one, it's Clemens. If it's two, it's probably Wilson and Clemens. I think Rojas would be an outside opportunity for me because I think they want him to get everyday at bats and to be able to work on some things in a comfortable setting. And a comfortable setting, unfortunately,
he's hitting over 400 down there.
Is not you're right. And he's hitting the ball well, but a comfortable setting is unfortunately for him not a platoon,
a pressure cooker.
It's not a split, and it's not playing in Philadelphia every day. So to me, I think your options are probably Clemens 1, Wilson 2, and then if you truly just want to bring up a guy who can play center field, then it would be Rojas. But I don't imagine Rojas gets the call back up.
Defensively, you only have to replace the one position.
Correct.
So you need a bat. If they both go on the IL, you need a bat and a first baseman. Alec Boehm gives you that first base potential, as does Cody Clemens, as does Weston Wilson a little bit. He can also play some outfield, same as Clemens. So I think for that reason alone, the versatility, Clemens and Wilson kind of make the most sense here.
Yeah, I agree.
If they both end up on the IL. So we put together what this lineup could look like.
All right, I'm going to preface this by saying...
Yeah. All right. So the next 3 games versus the Marlins, you're facing 3 right-handed pitchers.
Right. It's going to be a lefty-heavy lineup.
So let's start with this is a potential lineup that Tyler and I kind of concocted this morning.
This, by the way, is under the pretense that both guys hit the IL.
Yes.
Because I think for today's sake, I'm not sure they make 2 counter moves. I think if anything is going to happen today, Harper hits the IL. I don't think Schwarber will today.
And Clemens wouldn't be up tonight, so that would probably be Whit Merrifield.
Yeah. This is a long-term
Yes, this is, you got 17 games to get through until the All-Star break. So to split up the righty-lefty thing at the top of the order, we put Trey first, Bryson 2 to go righty-lefty-righty. I think Boehm makes the most sense in the 3-hole. Castellanos in the 4-hole, which Rob Thomson has already shown you he's not afraid to do.
No, and he's your last pop guy. Dahl towards the bottom of the lineup's got a little bit of pop against righties, but I'm not putting David Dahl at 4. So really, realistically,
so the top 4 is fine.
Your options are pretty limited to either Bohm stays at 4 and you slide somebody up, which I don't envision being the case, unless he decides he wants to go Stott at 3, which I also don't particularly envision. Bohm at 3 and Castellanos at 4 for the short term is probably your only option.
Yeah. So after the 4 hole, it kind of falls off a cliff a little bit. Hopefully, Brandon Marsh can, refine his first month of the season here. And look, the Phillies lineup has stepped up. Guys have stepped up when others go down. Nick Castellanos stepped up when JT went down. So hopefully, Brandon Marsh is a guy that can step up here. Edmundo Sosa, there's a good chance plays some third base in this with Alec Bohm taking over some first base duties versus righties.
I think you're going to see Bohm play third. You're going to see Sosa play third. You're going to see Merrifield play third. You may see Clemens play some third. I know he started the one game against Toronto at third a couple weeks ago. You may see Weston Wilson if it's multiple.
It's going to be a revolving door.
Yeah, it's going to be a patchwork thing for the next couple of weeks.
You want to be a fly on the wall in the analytics department these next 17 games?
No, I don't want to be anywhere near the analytics department. I want to be in Rob Thomson's office.
Well, because the analytics department is probably going to have a lot of input and say.
Yeah, most likely.
Because if you're changing your lineup nightly, you're basically going to be basing it off of the matchups.
Sure.
And what the other guy throws and your tendencies and putting guys in the best situations. So I'd love to be a fly on the wall between the analytics department and Rob. Hashing out this lineup on a nightly basis. And then you have Edmundo batting 6th, David Dahl batting 7th, Cody Clemens when he gets here maybe batting 8, or Rafael Marchand. Maybe you could put Marchand, since he's a switch hitter, at 8 and move Clemens to 9. You have some options there at the bottom of the order.
Yeah, that was really just you're splitting up lefty-righty as best as possible. Like, for example,
Marchand being a switch hitter is
the reason that we have Dahl in the outfield is he's not a good defender. And the options are pretty limited unless you're going to use a Pache in the outfield, which you probably will see against left-handed pitching.
Yeah.
But when it comes to the lefty-heavy lineup against right-handed pitching, I think the best case scenario is if I can get Dahl out of the lineup defensively, I would like to. It doesn't solve everything. Like Kevin says, Clemens is relatively new to moving to the outfield. It's not a perfect scenario. And that's why we continue to say, none of this is great. In a perfect world, I'd love to have more faith in a Cody Clemens to be an everyday left fielder. I don't, because he's relatively new to it. David Dahl is serviceable, but I would like a defensive upgrade if you could. To me, that's just pick your poison. And I think Clemens' athleticism, even in an unnatural position, probably would have him vault Dahl as the defensive choice between the two.
Yeah, so there's your lineup potentially versus righties. I like this one better than the lefties, which we'll get to in a second.